Michelle, welcome aboard to the show. So happy to have you with us today.
I am thrilled to be here, Ari.
The audience doesn't know that this is our second attempt, so hopefully it's going to work this time. And I think maybe third attempt, one was my fault, the other's issues. Man, we've been through a rough time.
Life
Um,
happens.
yeah, this is true. I got three kids. I know it. What is the worst possible moment in your life that you can recall?
Oh, I have to choose because there have
Oh
been
man, tell us both the stories. Don't choose. We want to hear it all.
yeah, if I had one, I think I would be an oddball. So I think the worst moment was when let me like gather my thoughts for a moment. I think the worst moment was when I was my husband left after 23 years, and I got married at 20, and I did not know how to be a single person because I went from house to being married, and I didn't know who I was, and I was 43, and I think that was one of the worst moments of my life, but one of the ultimate best moments.
Thank you for that out for me, because otherwise this wouldn't have a next question. It would be like, I'm so sorry. Next topic.
Good.
But this is I think it's a human truth that our worst often, 20 years later or 10 years later, are often also our best or our most important at the minimum. Why did it turn out to be your best in retrospect as well?
Well, that's much easier, and I don't have to think about it. It's because even though I floundered the first year, maybe the first 2 years, I read a lot of books. I read Changes That Heal, Women Who Try Too Hard, Boundaries, all the books, and those books were very instrumental in my healing process. And ultimately, I just found out who I am, and I like who I am, and I'm a work in progress. I have developed skills as an adult post divorce that I never thought I had. Like,
Mm.
somebody pointed out I was a people person, and I just laughed in their face. Like, are you kidding me? Because I was the wallflower and very quiet and very timid, very shy. And now you can't shut me up.
I the thing that I love the most about the story is that even when you're in your 40s, you can discover new depths and widths, and you can become a new person, and you can just completely decide that
Yes.
you're going to rediscover yourself. I think, to me, that is the most inspiring thing. And if you can do this in your 40s, you can do it in your 20s, right? You can change, you can be an awesome person, even if you don't like yourself right now. And maybe you should cut yourself some slack, but that's a whole different point. I wanna follow up and ask you, when exactly in your journey did you write? And this is this is, I can't say this without laughing. Bathroom prayers, inspiring thoughts while you're on the pot. And you used a pseudonym for this, which I think is brilliant. It's Anita Flushing.
Yeah, I tell people you'll
What?
get that in a minute.
When did you write this, and what the hell inspired you to write? And you have a toilet on your book, like it's literally got a toilet on the book in the middle of a field. Why? What, you know,
What's up
what
with that?
bus slash lightning struck you at that moment?
Yes, that is a great question. And I wrote the book in 2015
Mm.
when I was transitioning from doing copywriting, website content and things like that, to being a ghostwriter. And I call myself now a recovering ghostwriter because I did that for 6 years. But
We're
when
gonna get
I
into that soon.
transitioned
We'll
to
come back
ghost,
to that.
what?
We'll come back to the
Okay, yes.
ghostwriting.
So when I transitioned, I thought, how can I help people write their books? And I
Mm.
don't have one.
Yeah.
And so I thought, oh my gosh, I have to gather something together and have a book. So at least I have one. And I had the notes for this book, Bathroom Prayers, in a file for years and years and years. Pulled it out, and it's inspirational. It's funny. There's some poignant stories in there. There's some real vulnerable stories in there. There's some practical tips. It's just a fun book. I still have one on the back of my toilet tank, and that's what it's meant for. And just a
Love it.
quick read, inspiring thoughts while you're on the pot.
I love that. So, and keep me honest here that I'm getting the order of things correctly. But is this when you were a ghostwriter, or is this later on when you decided you're gonna work with NFLers?
Yes, well, the reason why I wrote Bathroom Prayers was because I was marketing myself on LinkedIn, which is my special spot for marketing. And a former NFL player reached out to me and asked me if I had ever ghostwritten a book. And having never ghostwritten a book, I said, sure, I can. Say yes and
Why
figure
not?
it out.
I love that. I
So
love that.
that's what I did. And I ultimately, he wrote his own book, and I pursued him, followed up with, checked in with for 7 years. And now
Oh
I've
wow.
helped him with 2 books and
Oh
heading
wow.
into a third soon. But that's how it all started. And then my target market was really former pro athletes, particularly NFL, NBA, but NFL, since I knew that world. And so a lot of my clients are former NFL
So
players.
so you're getting to know deeply, intimately a lot of pro athletes. What are the insights that you have? What were the challenges in the process, and what were the moments of delight?
Oh, well, I'll start with the good first. The moments of delight are, I love their mindset. Many
Mm,
were told, you're too short, you're too slow,
mm,
you'll never make it, you're too poor. And that was their dream. And they did whatever they had to do to get to the biggest stage on in the world. And so I love the mentality, the mindset, everything like that. The downside, I would say, would be, sometimes they're flaky little son of a guns. And I had a really hard time at the beginning getting paid. And I have this
my
funny
lord.
habit of wanting to eat regularly and pay my rent. And so I had to pursue other business professionals. But I do have quite, if you go on my website under clients, I do have quite an extensive list of former
Did you
NFL
get paid up
players.
front
And
nowadays?
I love working with them. I really do. And I still do, uh, but just not as often.
Do you insist on getting paid up front nowadays with the NFLers?
I had to change. And plus, I'm not a ghostwriter anymore.
Fair
And
enough.
so, yeah, with
Fair enough.
ghostwriting, you have to get a hefty deposit because it is so expensive, because it's so
It's a
time
lot of work.
intensive. But now, as a book and publishing consultant, and taking their book and doing all the inward parts,
Yeah.
helping them self publish, doing all the behind the scenes part, then yeah, 50% up, and then 50% at 60 days after. And that has worked a lot better. And plus, my clientele has changed for the better through the years as well.
It's interesting because just doing that filters out certain people, right? So it has this kind of impact.
Yes.
Okay, I want to go back to something very interesting. You said you call yourself a recovering ghostwriter. give us give us the absolutely horror of being a ghostwriter.
I found that it was just, I did not like the long form of it. You can only take on, 1 or 2 clients at a time, if especially with memoirs. I don't think I was particularly talented at it, but the long form, I when I came to the point of, I can't do this anymore, I didn't even want any new clients, because the dread.
Like, no, enough.
Yes, exactly. So I thought, I did not create my business to be this miserable.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
I shifted 15 degrees to the left or to the right. And
When was this? At what stage in your life? What age?
oh,
Because
that
you're
was
doing a
after
lot of
6
pivots. This
years.
is so delightful.
Yeah, that was about 6 years into ghostwriting. And I had done it
Amazing.
for 6 years and toiled and struggled. And it just wasn't, my sweet spot.
Were you afraid, like, oh, this is my thing, this is what I do, what can I do, can I do something else? Like, what were the emotions going through your mind when you're like, oh, I can't do this anymore?
Yes. Well, what I said is just I didn't create my business Winning Proof to be this miserable, to feel
Right.
this miserable and wanting to just not have any new clients. So I was at a online networking event, and that's when I heard about if you've fallen out of love with your business, maybe it just needs a little shift. You don't have to throw the whole baby out, just shift it.
Wonderful.
And so that's what I did.
Wonderful.
And I thought, what are the things I love to do within the ghostwriting? And that's exactly what I do now. And I am in
Mm.
love with it, passionate about what I do. And that's all okay, you have an idea, back cover copy, coordinating the
Right.
whole
0 to
project,
60.
keywords,
Yeah.
categories, publishing, all that.
Brilliant. Brilliant. I mean, this is such an important message, I think, because this problem of kind of falling out of your business, it's common. It's not uncommon. And people put a lot of sweat into their businesses, and it's easy for it to, not be fun after some time. What is the future hold for you? Are you before another pivot, or is this it? Is this the fun thing that you're doing now?
This is my zone of genius. This
Mm.
is what I find the greatest joy in. I don't anticipate any more pivots except just to learn more. There's so much to learn, and I'm very thankful and fortunate that I have an industry mentor who has been in the industry 25 years, and she has been a wealth of knowledge for me. I will call her in a panic sometimes. Hey, my client and this happened and I can't get this to work. And she just helps me a lot. So I would say a pivot is to just you can never learn everything there is to know about the publishing world, and it's ever evolving. And so you always have to keep sharp to stay relevant.
So let's go into the publishing world. Um, Social media has kind of bent us all over. And let's explain that, because our audience doesn't really understand what's happening. So, um, 20 years ago, how could you get published by the Big Four? What was the process?
Well,
20 years ago.
yes, you created a book proposal, you shopped for a literary agent, and that literary agent with your book proposal, which you were paying, and you still pay $8,000 to $15,000 for it,
Yep.
and
Yep.
they would shop your manuscript to the Big Five.
Yeah.
And
you're in essence hiring a salesperson, so to speak. But there was a chance in hell. Like, if you had something, there was a chance.
a minuscule chance, because all of the Big Five, none of them take unsolicited manuscripts. I think most everybody knows that. But literary agents, of course, have ins and they work with the Big Five. And so you have to have credibility, and your manuscript has to be good.
Has to
They
be
don't
good. Yeah.
take cruddy writing.
Okay. Social media has changed this. What does it look like today?
Well, I would say the bulk of people, and I work with self-published authors. I have a teammate
Right.
who is in communication and does have relationships with traditional publishers, including the Big Five. But with social media, the ability to market yourself, the ability to include your connections in your book journey. And even though I haven't seen my clients do this, I tell my clients, include your audience from the beginning. If you have two or three book covers, put it on your social media channel and ask A, B, or C, and include them. Make them feel like they're part of it. And that's the
But
glory of
we
social media.
skipped a step, right?
Hmm?
What if I'm trying to get published by the Big Five and I don't have a social media following? I'm not an influencer. Do I have a chance in hell? Okay,
Bye bye.
this is So here's what's happening. Here's how the industry has changed. The big five are looking for people with 100,000, a million followers. They're going to them and they're saying, "Hey, want to write a book?" And if
Yes.
you don't have 100,000 followers, yeah, go away.
That's exactly right. And even the big five with all of their Simon Schuster and
Yeah,
all, that's
random
just the one
penguin.
that pops into my mind first always. But they want to leverage what you already have. And
Yes.
so they
Hey, you
want,
can sell your book. Why we don't need to sell it for you? Great.
yeah,
Um,
exactly. They will leverage and do some marketing, but they want you to
yeah,
have a giant following
yeah,
first.
a base. Yeah. Is this deeply disturbing? Are we concerned as human beings that the next brilliant book is not going to be published by a big house because of this process? Or is it not a big deal because self-publishing came around?
I think it's because self-publishing came around. There's some big authors out there, some well-known authors that, and don't ask me who they are, but they're out there, and they are self-publishing because
Hmm,
with a traditional publisher, they're going to keep the rights, they're going to keep the
hmm,
royalties for a certain amount of time, maybe forever,
right.
and they're going to have a giant royalty split in their favor. And authors, big and small, are realizing if they self publish, they get to keep everything, rights, royalties, everything from the beginning. So, but you are paying to publish.
Yeah, you're giving a big chunk to Amazon too. Those guys are,
Well, that,
but
yeah.
yeah, yeah, nice in between 30 to yeah. But okay, so self-publishing kind of this whole new thing. It really changes the dynamic. So if it's not the end of the world that the big five are not going after these brilliant ideas, maybe it's the end of their world and they just can't see it. I mean, are they becoming these populistic, reality shows that is not going to have the deep, insightful authors because they can vet them with a whole bunch of followers? I mean, are they just going to have a bunch of, alone and naked, actors? Like what, 10, 20 years into the future, what are the big five going to look like?
That is such a good question. And it's just kind of a sci fi question because, you know, I think big publishers will always be around because you have the very famous authors who can
Yeah.
easily get deals with the big publishers, with the big five. So I think they'll always be around, but I think also that more and more authors will want to self publish because they don't want to be in that world. And plus, they take up to 2 years to finish your book. If you are self publishing, you know, 5 months, beware of the ones that say, I can get your book done in 15 days. Not any reputable book.
You can't get your book done in 15
No,
days. Let's start it there, regardless of who's going to help you. Um, Michelle, what an absolute delight. We have only one scripted question on the show. Everything else, I don't know what I'm going to ask. Um, if you had to go back to, and I used to say 20 something, but I've changed it to the most difficult part of your life, what would be the advice that you would give to yourself?
I would say if I was talking to my 20-year-old self, I would say don't listen to everything, don't believe everything everybody tells you, good and bad. Because if you believe all the bad, then you're not going to live up to your potential. You're going to take that in and you're
Yeah.
going to start believing it yourself. And it's the story that you're going to start telling. Don't believe all the good everybody says, because then you get a big old head and you might think of yourself more highly than you ought.
Our tagline is life consists of three stories: the stories you tell to yourself and the stories other tells you
Yes.
about you. Um, so I can only say thank you for finishing with our tagline. Michelle, what an absolute delight. Thank you for joining our show today.
I am so glad that we connected and
We figured
that
it
I
out.
was able to do this. Thank you very much.
My God, my cheeks are hurting because you made me laugh and smile so
Good.
much. So now I need to go battle with three children. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.